All right, today we're going to be taking a look at a watch that has actually three really unique things about it, and these three things are things that I've never featured on the channel before, so I'm kind of excited to check these out today. And that is, this is a watch that, first of all, is from a brand that is based in Ireland. It's a new Irish micro brand, Solas. It is a watch that features a micro-rotor movement, which I have never seen before. And finally, it's got an aventurine dial, which is kind of a really cool, sparkly thing. Today we're taking a look at the Starlight from Solas Watches. Let's check it out. Hey guys, this is Dave. Welcome back to Just the Watch, the budget watch collecting channel, where I like to talk about pretty much anything related to watch collecting on a budget. And as always, I will be doing a wrist check at the very end of this video, so if you're interested in that, stick around for that. But today we're talking about the Starlight from Solas Watches. The Solas Starlight is a 38mm dress watch with a really beautiful, sparkly aventurine dial and a very unique movement powering it. Inside it has the Hangzhou 5000 series micro-rotor movement, and a micro-rotor movement we'll talk more about exactly what it is and why it's so cool, but this is something that you never see in affordable watches. This is a Chinese-made movement, but it is a high-end Chinese movement. The timing specifications that the factory claims are on par with what you would get from Swiss brands like ETA. But again, we'll get more into that in a minute. First, I want to talk a little bit about the background of the watch. Solas is founded by a man named Dieu. He is a naturalized Irish citizen, originally of Chinese descent, which puts him in a really unique position. He really has a deep love for his new homeland in Ireland, and that's apparent in the work that he does and in just throughout his entire story. But also because of his Chinese background, he's able to communicate very fluently with Chinese manufacturers. So this watch was manufactured in China, but designed, and then it's going to be shipped out of Ireland. So he's doing the final quality control checks in Ireland before shipping them out to backers. In addition to being designed in Ireland, the strap for the watch is also sourced from Ireland, so it's an Irish-made leather strap. The dial on this watch is made out of aventurine, which is a very unique kind of glass material that has some little flecks of metal that give it this really incredible sparkle in different lighting situations, and it really is something that needs to be appreciated in person to really understand what it looks like. But definitely video, I think, is a better way to see it than in pictures. It's really hard to capture the full effect in still pictures, so we'll be seeing more of that as we go through the review, and hopefully I can give you an idea of how it will look in person if you get one of these. This is a prototype watch that will be released soon on Kickstarter, and this watch is one that was lent into me by Solas Watches. I will be sending it back after the review is done. It will be available on Kickstarter. I believe their pricing is going to range from around $450 up to about $500, depending on when you get in and how early. But you can check all that out on their campaign page when they get it launched. Finally, I'll talk a little bit about that Hangzhou 5000 series movement that's inside this. So this is a micro-rotor movement. And so that means that this is an automatic watch, but rather than having a full-size rotor that kind of spins around over the top of the entire movement, it has a much smaller rotor that fits inside the movement itself. And the benefits of this is it allows the movement to be made a little bit thinner. And so this watch is fairly thin, it's only 10 millimeters thick. And it also allows for more of the movement to be seen and decorated and appreciated. So it's a very beautiful looking movement, and there are some functional applications to it. And this is a movement that is typically only found on much higher end watches. I'm not aware of any watch in this price range or anywhere near this price range that features a micro-rotor movement. So particularly if you are a watch collector who has a fascination with mechanical movements and you want to try and check out some of the different ones that are out there, but you are a budget watch collector like me, this is going to be one of your few opportunities to get your hands on a micro-rotor movement. Now, the Hangzhou 5000 series movement is a Chinese-made movement, which does mean that it's going to be a bit of an unknown quantity for a lot of people. And that's one of the biggest drawbacks here. But this is a higher-end Chinese movement. This is not like a very ultra-cheap Chinese movement. This is made to a much higher standard than most of the Chinese movements that you're going to find out there. And Dieu seems to have a lot of confidence in this movement. In fact, he's offering a 2-year warranty not only on the watch, but also on the movement as well, which should give you some peace of mind. I haven't done extensive accuracy testing on this movement yet, but it seems to be going at about plus 10 seconds a day from the limited testing that I've done so far. The movement operates at 28,000 beats per hour, so it's a slightly higher beat rate than your standard NH35, which gives it a nice smooth sweep on their small second hand. It is not a hackable movement, but it does feature hand winding, which I think on a dress watch like this, I'm perfectly fine with. And it has a very nice snappy date change. It's not one of the ones that kind of lingers and is halfway in between the numbers for a long period of time. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get a closer look at the watch. All right, so here's a little bit closer look at the Solas Starlight. And you can see that aventurine dial glittering away. And this is a very interesting material to use as a dial. It really looks different depending on the lighting situations. And again, you really have to see it in motion to get the full effect. If you just see a photo of it, you're going to see these static flecks, but it really moves and blinks around a lot as you move the watch. Now, it actually is going to look very different outside in daylight. In daylight, you tend to have one large light coming from a single direction, so you don't get as many of these sparkly effects. Indoors, there's lots of different light sources and different reflections that you're going to get, so you're going to get a much more dramatic effect indoors with this watch than outdoors. You'll also notice that depending on what is behind the watch, the hands will almost completely disappear. In real world usage, it's actually fairly easy to find an angle where the hands will catch. But oftentimes when it's being filmed, you'll see that the hands will just completely disappear under studio lighting. And really the idea behind this is it's supposed to look like a starlit sky, and it really does sell that from certain angles, sometimes more dramatic than others. Now, besides the aventurine dial, the rest of the watch is very classic Dauphine hands, nice beveled and faceted hour markers and indices. You're not getting any sort of a chapter ring or anything to mark the minutes. The dial is very sparse. You get a small second hand at the 6:30 position. You're getting a date at 3 o'clock, and the date is unframed and color matched to the dial, so it really kind of blends in. It sort of disappears, and I think that works really well with this dial. So I think that's a nice way to integrate the date. At 12 o'clock, they have an applied Solas logo. At the very bottom at 6 o'clock, you can see, I believe that says designed in Ireland in Irish or Gaelic. I'm not that familiar with the terms there, so correct me if I got any of that wrong. But yeah, one of those little nods to the Irish history of this watch. One other way they've kind of incorporated the idea of an Irish watch is with the band. Apparently this watch band was designed and manufactured in Ireland. So while the watch head itself is designed in China, the band was made in Ireland. And it's a very nice, supple leather. It's kind of a simple black leather strap with some blue stitching that kind of ties into that sort of bluish hints on the aventurine dial. And I think it really matches the character of the watch very well. One challenge is, though, is that the finish seems to be very soft and a little bit on the fragile side. And that's particularly a bit of a problem with the buckle system that they've included. Now, this is a very nice deployant style clasp. And it has a unique way of doing it so where the leather is actually folding on top of the metal, which is very comfortable. So the metal never touches your wrist. And I believe that's why Dieu chose this buckle in particular, because it's a comfortable one, and it is, in his opinion, a superior design to your kind of typical deployant clasp. But this clasp combined with this strap does cause some issues, and that is notably that the strap is very easily kind of scratched by the buckle system. So you have to be kind of really careful with it. And he actually has a video giving some instructions on how to do this so that you avoid some of this problem. But you can see, this was a brand new buckle this is a brand new band when I got it a couple of weeks ago. And just by trying to adjust it and figure it out, and I probably should have watched his video a little bit more closely. I read his instructions and thought I knew what I was doing. But after watching the video, there's probably some other ways to do it. But I feel like even if you do it exactly the way that he said, there's still going to be some damage to the surface of the watch band. Now, it's not too big of a problem because this part of the band that gets damaged is always going to be below the visible part. So the visible part looks fine, but the part that goes into the clasp system and then gets fed in can very easily get scratched up. And then even just at the tip of this is they've got a nice embossing here. It's really beautiful embossing on the tip there, where they've got their logo stamped into the leather. But this is supposed to come to a point, but it's kind of peeling away, and you can see that. And so, yeah, I feel like the leather is not a very tough leather. It's kind of a delicate leather. So I don't know how long that'll last. And again, particularly the part that goes into the strap system can get chewed up pretty quickly by that when you're feeding it in and getting it set up. So the way you're supposed to do it, according to him, is you feed it in like this very carefully. And then there's these kind of guards in there. And so then you're supposed to gently tuck it underneath the guards and then press the thing in. And if you do that, you're supposed to be able to get it in without too much issue. However, even still, the guards have been kind of chewing at the sides of the leather when I do that. But the buckle itself is very solid, very comfortable, really well made, nice milled clasp. Yeah, so it's just a shame that that the leather itself is, a little bit on the delicate side. All right, you've been catching glimpses of the movement as I've been playing with that, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at that. Now we've talked about the design and the benefits of using a micro-rotor movement and the specifications, but one of the biggest benefits is just how pretty it looks. You can see this is a very beautifully decorated movement. You can see that micro-rotor there. So typically the rotor will take up basically the entire back half of the watch, and it'll be rotating over the rest of it. In this case, the rotor is built into the movement of the watch. And you kind of see it. It's a little bit thicker and heavier. It needs to be a heavy weight in order to still have enough weight to wind the watch automatically. You can see that it does spin around pretty freely. And then just overall, the finishing on the movement is really beautiful. It's a really interesting looking movement, and one that, again, is very rare. You never see anything like this really outside of the luxury watch realm. Now, those are obviously the most exciting parts of the watch, the movement and the dial. But the case is very nice as well. It's a simple case, but you are getting some nice design elements. The lugs are kind of well integrated with nice little step in there, and then same thing up on the bezel. You're getting a little bit of a step up to the bezel. You're getting a very small crown, but it is nicely signed and engraved. And you can see the watch is very thin. This is right on 10 millimeters thin, which makes it feel great on the wrist. As this is a dress watch, you're getting all polished finishing all the way around. No brushing anywhere, but yeah, I think that works fine. But this does have 50 meters of water resistance, which is definitely a nice little bonus over the typical 30 meters that you find on most dress watches. On the wrist, the watch is extremely comfortable thanks to the size, the nice lug design, curvature of the case, and that clasp. Again, the downside of it being that it kind of chews up the leather, but the upside being it is very comfortable in the way that it layers the leather up against your wrist, so you don't have any metal touching it, so it's much more comfortable than other deployant clasps that I have used. And this just has really great classic dress watch proportions. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, so this is a smaller watch than I typically wear, but as a dress watch, I think it looks great. And since this watch is really dominated by the dial, there's not much of a bezel or anything, it doesn't look like a small watch. It just looks like a good classically sized dress watch. All right, so with all that in mind, what do I think of this watch? What do I think are the main pros and cons of the watch? Definitely on the pro side is the uniqueness. There are a lot of things that you're getting at this price range that you're not going to find in really any other watches. Particularly to find that combination of all three, where you're getting an Irish micro brand, a micro-rotor movement, and an aventurine dial. If those are things that interest you, I think this is going to be a great watch for you to check out and pick up. But even if they aren't, I think that the design and the kind of beauty and aesthetics of this watch are something that will appeal to a lot of people. It makes for a great dress watch. It's very thin and compact. It will easily slip underneath the cuff of a dress shirt. And overall, it has a really classic understated design that I think allows that aventurine dial to really shine or sparkle and kind of take center stage. However, that uniqueness is also maybe some of the things that are going to cause a lot of people to hesitate about this watch. That Hangzhou's 5000 movement is a bit of an unknown. It hasn't really been used in a lot of watches before, so there's not really a long track record with it. But that 2-year warranty that they're offering does add to a little bit of peace of mind there. Also, the aventurine dial, it is very sparkly, and if you don't like a sparkly watch on your wrist, that's probably not going to be something you're going to be drawn to. And then for me, the only other complaint that I have is I'm not a huge fan of the font that they used in their logo that's on the text of the dial. However, that's not really that noticeable depending on the lighting condition that you're looking at. And for a lot of people, that's probably going to be more of a personal taste. Again, if you guys are interested in checking out this watch, be sure to hit up the Kickstarter campaign. As always with Kickstarter, the early bird ones are going to get the best pricing, and then the pricing will go up from there. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of this watch, what your opinion is of aventurine or micro-rotors, or if that's something that really appeals to you. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and let's do the wrist check. Okay, so I've actually got another micro brand dress watch on. This is the Empire from Vario. This is one that Vario loaned in for me to check out, and I will be doing a review on this one soon. I was just at a wedding the other day, and I wore this one there and really enjoyed it. It's got a really, a lot of good stuff going for it. So I'll save most of that for the review, but safe to say, this is a pretty cool watch, I think, and definitely another good dress watch option. Anyways, that will do it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.